What if saying yes to one simple offer could unravel a secret that's been waiting 40 years to be discovered? What if the person working beside you every day holds the key to healing wounds you didn't even know you carried? Tonight, I'm going to share an incredible true story that proves family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about the connections we choose to make when life gets hard. This isn't just another Christmas story. This is a powerful account of how one man's simple offer to work a holiday shift revealed a hidden connection between two families that would change everything. You'll meet Elena, a single mother one missed paycheck away from disaster. You'll meet Carlos, a widower just trying to make it through his first Christmas alone. And you'll discover the astonishing moment when a casual conversation revealed their mothers were once inseparable friends, separated by circumstances, but connected by a bond that would bridge for decades of silence. If you've ever felt alone in your struggles, or wondered if small acts of kindness really matter, prepare to have your heart restored. This story will show you how one yes can create ripples that heal generations of loneliness and create family where there was only strangers before. You know, there's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes not just from working long hours, but from the constant worry about whether you're enough. For Elena, a single mother working as a hospital cleaner, every day was a delicate balancing act between paying rent and being present for her young son, Miguel. The financial struggle was relentless, like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No matter how many double shifts she picked up, there was always another bill waiting. Her sacrifice wasn't just about missing sleep. It was the quiet ache of watching her son's school events through other parents' photos because she couldn't afford to take time off. The loneliness of her position felt like a heavy coat she could never take off, even on the brightest days. Now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt stretched so thin that you wondered how much longer you could keep going? Maybe it's not about money, but about time, energy, or emotional reserves. Here's what I've learned from watching people like Elena. Our breaking points often become our turning points if we're willing to see them that way. This week, try this simple practice. Each evening, write down one small victory, no matter how insignificant it seems. That daily act of acknowledging your strength builds a foundation of hope that can withstand almost any storm. The week before Christmas brought Elena to her knees in a way she'd never experienced. Miguel had been asking for weeks if they could have a real Christmas this year, and each time she'd forced a smile and promised they would. But the reality was stark. Her paycheck had been cut because of reduced hospital hours, and the family secret she carried was that they were one unexpected expense away from losing their apartment. On December 23rd, standing in the grocery store with exactly $12.37 in her wallet, she made the hardest decision of her life. She'd work Christmas Day, giving up her one guaranteed day with her son for the holiday pay that might keep them afloat. What Elena couldn't have known was that her quiet desperation hadn't gone unnoticed. Carlos, the night shift security guard who'd watched her struggle for months, saw the tears she thought she'd hidden when she checked the schedule. He understood that kind of financial struggle all too well. He'd been there himself after his wife passed away. In that moment, watching a good woman being crushed by circumstances beyond her control, he made a decision that would change both their lives forever. Sometimes the most powerful storytelling begins not with words, but with actions that speak directly to the heart of someone else's pain. You know how they say that sometimes angels wear ordinary clothes and work the night shift? Well, Carlos wasn't thinking about being anyone's angel when he approached Elena that evening. He was just following that gut feeling that tells you someone's drowning and you might have a lifeline. "Take my shift," he said quietly. "I'll cover for you on Christmas." Now, here's the thing about genuine, unexpected help. It's not just about solving a practical problem. It's about the message it carries. I see you. You matter. Your struggle is valid. For Elena, who'd grown accustomed to her loneliness, those 4 words felt like someone had thrown her a rope after years of treading water alone. Let me ask you something. When's the last time you offered help without being asked? I'm not talking about grand gestures, but those small, almost invisible acts that say, "I've got you." This week, try being what I call a noticer. Look for the subtle signs that someone's struggling. The coworker who's always the first to arrive and last to leave. The neighbor whose lights are on at 3 a.m. The parent who looks exhausted at school drop-off. Then offer one specific, no-strings-attached help. "Let me pick up your groceries this week," or "I'll watch your kids for 2 hours Saturday." You'll be amazed how these small acts create community where there was only isolation before. Elena's initial reaction was pure disbelief. Nobody had ever offered her something so significant without wanting something in return. Her life had taught her that every kindness came with hidden costs, every favor with unspoken expectations. But looking into Carlos's eyes, she saw something different, a genuine understanding born from his own sacrifice and loss. He explained that his children were spending the holidays with their grandparents out of state, and working Christmas would actually help him with the emptiness of his first Christmas without his wife. His act of kindness was, in its own way, a form of self-preservation, a reminder that even in our own pain, we can still be someone else's answer to prayer. What happened next would become the stuff of hospital legend, though few would ever know the true story. Elena went home that night and experienced something she hadn't felt in years. The weight of impossible choices momentarily lifted. She told Miguel they'd have Christmas together after all, and the joy on his face was worth more than any paycheck. But what she couldn't have anticipated was how Carlos's simple offer would set in motion a series of events that would reveal a lost and found connection between their families, a family secret buried for generations that would redefine everything they thought they knew about each other, and about the true meaning of second chance. You know, it's funny how one simple yes can unravel threads you never knew were connected. When Elena accepted Carlos's offer, she thought she was just getting Christmas Day with her son. What she didn't realize was that she was stepping into a story much larger than her own. That, yes, created space for something magical to happen, something that would address the deep financial struggle that had been haunting her for years. It's like when you finally stop struggling against the current and let it carry you. That's when you discover it was leading you somewhere better all along. Her willingness to receive help became the catalyst for a second chance she never saw coming. Now, here's a practical thought for you. When was the last time you said yes to an offer of help and truly let yourself receive it? Many of us are terrible receivers because we think it makes us look weak or indebted. But here's the truth. Allowing someone to help you is actually a gift to them. This week, practice being a gracious receiver. When someone offers to pay for your coffee, help with a project, or watch your kids, look them in the eye and say thank you. I'd love that, without following it with, but I'll pay you back. You'll be amazed at how this simple shift deepens your connections and builds genuine community. On Christmas morning, as Elena and Miguel decorated their small tree with paper ornaments they'd made together, something unexpected happened. Carlos stopped by with a Christmas meal his sister had insisted he bring. Enough to feed an army, as he put it. But it was what happened during that simple meal that would change everything. Miguel mentioned his grandmother's name in passing, and Carlos froze. The name was familiar, painfully familiar. It belonged to a woman his own mother had spoken of for years, a lost and found connection from a past life. A family secret that had shaped his own childhood in ways he was only beginning to understand. The conversation that followed was like watching puzzle pieces that had been scattered for decades suddenly finding their place. Elena's mother and Carlos's mother had been childhood friends, separated when Elena's family moved away suddenly after a financial struggle that forced them to start over in a new city. The women had lost touch, but both had carried the memory of their friendship their entire lives. Carlos's mother had often spoken of her lost friend with such fondness, wondering what had happened to her. This unexpected help he'd offered Elena wasn't just random kindness. It was the universe closing a circle that had been left open for 40 years, proving that hope often appears in the most ordinary moments, wearing the most familiar faces. You know how life sometimes feels like it's writing a story we can't quite read until the right chapter? Well, Carlos and Elena were about to discover they were characters in the same book, separated by time, but connected by something much deeper than coincidence. That Christmas afternoon, Carlos made a phone call that would bridge a 40-year gap. He called his elderly mother and put her on speakerphone with Elena. The emotion in the older woman's voice when she realized who she was speaking to was a powerful lesson in how hope can survive decades of silence. "I've prayed to find your mother for years," she whispered, her voice cracking with a mix of joy and sorrow. "We were like sisters before life pulled us apart. Now, let me ask you something. Is there someone in your past you've lost touch with but often wonder about? Maybe a childhood friend, a former mentor, or a relative you haven't spoken to in years. Here's a challenge for you. This month, reach out to just one person from your past, not with a grand expectation, but with a simple, "I was thinking of you and hope you're well." You'd be amazed how these reconnections can bring unexpected help and healing to both parties. It's not about rewriting history, but about honoring the connections that once mattered and discovering what reconciliation in the present can heal from the past. What unfolded in Elena's small apartment felt like watching a beautiful tapestry being rewoven with threads that had been broken for generations. Carlos's mother shared stories Elena had never heard about her own mother's youth, tales of resilience, laughter, and dreams that poverty had forced them to abandon. She revealed how both women had faced similar financial struggle but had been separated before they could support each other through it. The family secret wasn't dramatic or dark. It was the simple, heartbreaking reality that life had pulled apart two souls who needed each other, and that separation had created a loneliness that echoed through both families for decades. As the conversation continued, an even deeper connection emerged. Carlos's mother explained that before they were separated, Elena's mother had entrusted her with something precious, a small anonymous gift of family heirlooms she couldn't take with her when they moved. For 40 years, Carlos's family had kept these items safe, hoping one day to return them. The lost and found nature of this revelation left Elena speechless. She'd grown up with so little connection to her family's history, and now she was discovering that her mother's best friend had been preserving pieces of it all this time, waiting for the moment when their stories would intersect again, proving that some bonds of community are stronger than time or distance. You know, the most valuable inheritances often have nothing to do with money and everything to do with memory. When Carlos brought over the small wooden box his mother had been safeguarding for 40 years, Elena discovered something far more precious than she could have imagined. Inside weren't jewels or cash, but something that restored her dignity in a way money never could. Letters between the young mothers, photographs of their friendship, and the small silver locket her mother had worn every day until it mysteriously disappeared. This wasn't just a returned object. It was the return of a piece of her mother's soul, a tangible connection to the woman she'd lost too young. The financial struggle that had defined her life suddenly felt smaller in the face of this rich, emotional inheritance. Now, here's something practical you can do this week. What family stories are you preserving? I'm not talking about expensive heirlooms, but the simple storytelling that keeps your history alive. Take an afternoon to look through old photos with someone older in your family. Record a conversation with your parents or grandparents about their childhood. Write down the recipes that have been passed through generations. These acts of preservation are a form of active kindness to your future self and to those who will come after you. You'll be amazed at how these connections to your past can provide hope and perspective during present struggles. What happened next in Elena's living room was nothing short of alchemical. As she read her mother's youthful letters, filled with dreams, fears, and the same worries about providing for family that Elena carried, she felt a profound sense of reconciliation with her own journey. Her mother had faced the same sacrifice, the same difficult choices between being present and providing. The loneliness Elena had felt as a single mother suddenly felt shared across generations, and in that sharing, became bearable. Carlos watched this transformation with tears in his own eyes, realizing that his simple offer to work a shift had unlocked healing that spanned decades. The most beautiful part of this unfolding story was how it naturally expanded to include others. Miguel, who'd never known his grandmother, now had stories and photographs that made her real to him. Carlos found that in helping Elena reconnect with her past, he was healing his own mother's long-held sadness about her lost friend. The community that formed around this rediscovered connection became a living testament to the power of second chance. And as Christmas evening settled over the city, something remarkable was taking shape. Not just the mending of an old friendship, but the creation of a new extended family, bound not by blood but by choice and shared history, ready to face whatever came next together. You know, the most beautiful endings are always new beginnings in disguise. What started as a simple shift swap between coworkers had blossomed into something neither Carlos nor Elena could have imagined. That Christmas night, as they sat surrounded by photographs and letters from a shared past, they realized they were no longer just colleagues helping each other out. They had become family. The loneliness that had defined both their lives had been replaced by a profound sense of belonging, proving that community isn't always about blood relations, but about chosen connections that honor our shared humanity. Their financial struggle hadn't magically disappeared, but it had transformed from a solitary burden into a shared challenge they could face together. Now, here's what I want you to consider. How can you create these kinds of meaningful connections in your own life? It doesn't require grand gestures or dramatic circumstances. Start with what I call intentional proximity, regular, consistent presence in someone's life. Maybe it's checking in on that elderly neighbor every Tuesday, or offering to carpool with that single parent at work. The magic happens in the consistency, not the intensity. This month, identify one person in your life who might need this kind of steady, reliable presence, and commit to showing up for them in small, practical ways. You'll discover that unexpected help often grows from the soil of simple, repeated kindness. The weeks that followed Christmas saw the formation of what they jokingly called their chosen family compact. Carlos's mother moved in with him, and Elena and Miguel became regular fixtures in their home, creating an intergenerational household that benefited everyone. The older woman found purpose in helping with Miguel after school. Elena found emotional support she'd never known, and Carlos discovered that his sacrifice of personal space was rewarded with a home filled with laughter and connection. Their combined resources eased the financial struggle for both families, but more importantly, their combined emotional support created a safety net that money could never buy. As New Year's Eve approached, the four of them sat together looking through the old photographs once more, but this time they were also taking new ones. Pictures of their blended family, of shared meals, of Miguel helping Carlos's mother in the garden. The lost and found nature of their story had come full circle, but the real storytelling was just beginning. They had proven that second chance doesn't mean going back to what was, but moving forward with wisdom and open hearts. And as the clock struck midnight, welcoming a new year, they stood together, not as broken individuals, but as a restored community, living proof that sometimes the family you need is waiting in the most unexpected places, and all it takes is one courageous yes to change everything. So let me ask you this: who's the Carlos in your life that you've been overlooking? What simple offer have you been hesitating to make because you thought it wouldn't matter enough? Here's the powerful truth this story reveals. Your smallest act of kindness could be the key that unlocks someone's second chance. That coworker you eat lunch with, that neighbor you nod to in the hallway, that person who serves your coffee every morning. They might be carrying a family secret or a financial struggle that your simple offer could help heal. Now I want you to consider, what shift could you cover for someone this week? What burden could you help carry? What connection have you been too busy or too scared to make? Remember, the loneliness you feel might be the exact same loneliness someone else is battling just a few feet away from you. If this story inspired you to look at the people around you with new eyes, if you believe that chosen family can be as powerful as blood relations, then do me one favor. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Why? Because every week we share true stories like this one that prove ordinary people can create extraordinary connections. Your journey toward building meaningful relationships starts with one click, and I'll be right here to show you how.